Hey guys, this is Scott Horne with First Option Title. In this video, we're going to take a minute and just talk about possible title defects and how they can affect your closing, or things that might cost you money or issues, along the way. So if you find the video helpful, please don't forget to like us. If you have comments, comment below, and don't forget to take a moment and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So, what are some of the main things that can hit you in a real estate deal that could be issues on your closing? The first one that comes to my mind really is, do you have the proper sellers? I cannot tell you how many times this happens out there. Oftentimes it's with a probate issue where someone has passed away. Maybe there's multiple heirs, 4, 5, 6, 20, whatever it might be. And I've seen it down the line to as many as 30 out there. Everybody's got to sign the contract. Everybody's got to sign a deed. I just did a deal the other day where we had 13 siblings. Of those, I think only 9 were still alive. 4 were deceased. Of those 4 deceased, they had other people, children and heirs along the way. All of these people had to be joined in the contract on deeds and things of that nature. And you've got to know those kind of things up front, because if you miss somebody, you got a problem. Have a deal also right now we're working on where a buyer put a property under contract, and the seller signed the contract selling 3 tracts of land. Only one problem. He only owned 1 of the 3 tracts of land. What's he thinking signing off on the other 2 tracts of land? Why did he do it? I don't know. I can come up with lots of excuses and reasons, but goofy things happen all the time out there. But knowing who the seller is, or sellers are, is so important to know in these transactions. Helping your closing agent, your title company, through these processes also. They don't know they are. It's a discoverable issue. And guys, these are not closing costs. These are legal fees that really are incurred by the seller, because it's their responsibility to know what they're selling, who the proper sellers are, etc. And the problem is the great majority of the time, they don't know. And so it falls back on the investor to take time to discover this stuff and know what's going on. But that is a huge issue that can slow down your process, end your acquisition of the property completely, or maybe help you get the deal at a better cost and expense, so you can help them navigate those issues along the way. Another thing I come up with are forged documents. And guys, whenever money is involved, fraud can happen in a heartbeat. And does it happen every day in the real estate industry? Oh my gosh, it happens every day. I've seen guys here in the DFW area who have spent some time in Club Fed, I'm sure, or worse places, who would go out and they would forge deeds on property, let that deed sit in deed records for like a year or so, and then they'd go sell the property. Well, guess what? It wasn't their house. Maybe the house was abandoned, sitting vacant. And you saw a lot of that back in the early 2000s, and especially in the last real estate crash of 08, 09. From there through, 2012, 13, this stuff was rampant. You'd see this. All types of things were happening. And you go, do people really forge documents? Yeah. Do people really not tell you the truth about who the heirs to a property are so they can make more money? Absolutely they do. It is all about the money. It's about greed. And the more unsophisticated your buyer is, oftentimes the more likely this is to happen. But I'm going to say this too. Sometimes the more sophisticated the buyer is, this could happen. They just don't think they could get caught doing these kind of things. And it's amazing the things that you see in the title and the closing industry out there of things that really happen in real life. And guys, when I say that truth is stranger than fiction, happens every day, and I'm sure you all have examples of this also, but these kind of things truly do happen. And so knowing who the parties are, trying to make sure you have proper lineage in the property, things like this along the way, knowing how to look at your title commitment, the abstract of title, so important. Knowing what the state is that you live in, on how they define things and do things, is so important, so you understand it. If you don't understand those, you or your closing agent could just simply gloss over it. For instance, the next thing we're going to talk about here about are outstanding liens, judgment liens, child support liens, solar panel liens, things of this nature. But sometimes, for instance, using a solar panel lien, they're called UCC liens in Texas. Other states don't do that. It's not even called a lien, it's called an assessment. Well, what the heck's that? And not only that, the seller doesn't pay it. It comes in through taxes. You're going, what? And so if you're in one state and you're closing a deal in another state, you don't understand what's happening, you may completely miss it. And it is our job as the buyer to help our closing agents along the way sometimes on these different things. It's just not, sit back, fat and happy and sign off on things and go up. It's somebody else's responsibility. No, it is equally our responsibility to help out because we don't want headaches or problems. We want to get that deal done, get it closed properly, timely, quickly, move on to the next deal. But if it screws up and it takes eons of time, we don't like that. I see that all the time out there in the closing industry, not just in the Texas marketplace, but nationally as well. Knowledge is power. So in addition to those kind of things like solar liens, other types of liens, judgment liens, mechanics liens, child support liens, heck, restitution liens, which is from a criminal conviction typically. All these things can pop up on your commitment that you want to try to fetter out in advance. You want to be asking questions of your seller in advance. What's out there? What can we expect? What do they know? What do they anticipate? Do they know of anything? And the old adage of if you don't ask, you don't get is so daggum true. You got to be smart about this stuff, guys. You need to know what can affect your property. And guys, different states are different, Some states are homestead states, others not. Some are community property states, some are not. Does an heir own a piece of the property or do they have a life estate? You better know your probate code issues along the way. And you don't just rely upon the closing agent. They're not lawyers. This is a seller responsibility to know these things. But also the informed investor who has that better knowledge base can help that seller through things and your closing agent to get your closing done quickly and more successfully and eliminate the issues and the problems. Knowing how to eliminate child support liens, being able to suggest things to escrow agents, helping them determine if a mechanics lien or a judgment lien is even the seller's. Does it really attach or is it just similar? And when you get similar names like John Jones or Tom Smith or whatever it might be, you could have hundreds of these things pop up that aren't even the sellers, but because of a similar name, they show up. All these little things need to be researched for social security number, address, maybe driver's license number, things of that nature along the way. But that knowledge base is so important. Knowing that if you're going to buy a property, not for cash, but maybe you're buying it using creative finance, buying a property subject to the existing debt, for instance, maybe you want to leave all of those various liens on the property. Maybe you want to navigate them that way. I will tell you as an investor myself, oftentimes we buy a ton of properties where we leave various liens on the property for various reasons out there. But I have a good working knowledge of how these liens work, what's going to happen from a reasonable perspective, and it helps me navigate my transaction, helps me negotiate my deal for usually a better deal along the way. So again, knowledge is power in what attaches, what doesn't attach, what they are, their longevity, how to handle this kind of stuff. And it's so important to understand these things to help you out along the way. Another thing that just comes to mind real quick is easements and encroachments. And so often you don't see this on a property, but one of the things I do when I'm out looking to buy a property, the very first thing I do is I get a feel for the property sitting on the lot. I'm looking at my fence lines, the house. I'm looking to see how things are built. Is it closer, too far setback? What's going on? To just get an overall view of the property to see if there's any reason why I should be concerned. If there's a survey involved, which sometimes there is and sometimes there's not, it will help quite a bit. And you can actually go downtown to your map and plat records of the county where everything is kept, and you can research these things yourself if need be. And I've done that a ton of times. Now, maybe I have a leg up on a lot of people because I am a civil engineer and a surveyor, and I've done a lot of that. And I can look at the plat books and understand things. But, I've run across so many situations where our seller is trying to sell a piece of land that is totally landlocked. Now, the county where this is recorded is not supposed to accept those kind of deeds and whatnot because you're not allowed to landlock a piece of land. And if a seller is selling maybe a back tract of land and they keep the front tract, but there's no way to get back there, they have to put in an ingress-egress easement so that you have access to the property. Knowing these kind of things will help you also if you are a land buyer. Looking at seeing if your property is encroaching. I've seen driveways that encroach. Maybe you have an easement going down the middle of a property line. That's for ingress egress that both parties on the left and the right of the property can utilize. Is your fence encroaching on the neighbor? A little, a lot. Was the house, the barn, the garage built properly? Is it too far back, too far up? Is it on your neighbor's property? Could it be torn down? Oh my gosh. You've got to get just a basic working knowledge of these things so you can look at things and make some determinations. What is a setback? Front setback line, back setback, side setbacks. And in the county where you're located or the city where you're located, so you know what to be looking for. For instance, most cities and counties have what's called a 5-foot setback line on the sides for houses, meaning you've got to have at least 5 feet between the property line and the house. But sometimes if you're in a townhome condo regime of some sort, that could be 0 to only maybe 1 or 2 or 3 feet possibly. And again, having that working knowledge just helps you discern things so when you're looking at the property, you can eliminate problems that can pop up along the way. Another thing that comes to mind that never really came to mind until we started doing national closings is different recordings and requirements of different states when you're filing properties. Some states have a property tax transfer. So if you're going to sell your property, guess what? You get taxed to sell your home or to buy the house. Well, what is that? Is it a percentage? Is it a flat fee? Who do you pay it to? A lot of West Coast states have that. A lot of East Coast states have that. Most of your central states don't have it, but you need to find out what those things are. What are the signing requirements for the documents? Is it just a notary? Will they accept an online notary or not? What about, do you need a witness on a document, on a deed, or on a deed of trust per se? Do you need one witness? Do you need 2 witnesses? Just found this out in Florida. You got to have 2 witnesses on a deed. Well, how would you know that if you have never done a deal before or even asked that question to somebody? So I always like to tell the investors out there, find a knowledgeable real estate attorney in the state where you're intending to do business. Ask questions. Call a local title company. Ask just some generalities. What are the filing fees? $26 for the first page, 4 pages for the after. Do you need 3 inches at the top of the document? Do you need 3 inches at the bottom of the document? Is it 4 inches top or bottom, something different? Is there a setback on the sides of documents? Every county and state can be a little bit different. Is there a file stamp? Are the fees different? Can you file electronically? Do you need a witness? No witness. All these things help you discern things with your closing agent to expedite your closing. And by doing this, it'll help you prevent problems along the way, which is what all of us want to do. Prevent problems, get our deal closed, move on down the line. So I look at all this again, guys, and it starts off by knowing the right questions to ask. Ask of your seller, your closing agent, maybe somebody who's knowledgeable in the state where you're doing business for the first time to help you learn these things. Make note of them, track them. So if you come back to that state again, you got it all. If you're getting title insurance or not getting title insurance, review your commitment. Know what it is you're looking at. If you don't know what it is, ask. Review your abstract yourself. Make certain that the things are on there are removed from your settlement statement, and actually take the time to ask your closing agent, hey guys, are we paying off mortgage company A, B, and C? Did we get these liens removed? Do we have releases on these items? And if you don't get the right answer, don't close your deal. Too many investors want to play the big man in the block, just sign docs and move on. They think somebody has done everything for them, and I cannot tell you how many hundreds of times I see this in the marketplace out there. Investors want some transactional coordinator to be God's gift to real estate closings. They're not. You know, you need to know more than that TC does. You need to take the time, review your HUD, ask questions, look at your commitment, your abstract, make sure things got handled appropriately before you sign, consummate, and fund that deal. Don't just expect things work to your advantage every time. And guys, if you do little things like that, it will make your life so much easier, your transactions so much smoother. Your TC will appreciate it. Your closing agent, title company will appreciate it. You will appreciate it yourself along the way. And really, one of the best ways at the end of the day to protect yourself when buying real estate is, whenever possible, get title insurance. You don't have to have it. You know, it's a buyer's obligation. If you got a lender, you're probably getting the mortgagee's title policy no matter what you're doing. But if you're paying cash for a house, you're buying a house subject to the existing debt, let's say, or with some type of creative finance, do you have to have insurance? No, it becomes a business decision. Do you want to pay the extra money for the title policy or not? Again, it's a business decision. But having that knowledge will help you navigate your deal out there. And again, the more you know, the better you get along. Implementing these kind of things I just laid out along the way will help you protect yourself, protects the seller, protects the buyer, protects the closing agent, helps everybody, and it gets these deals done. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, take a minute and like it, we'd appreciate it. Don't forget to comment below. We'll do our very best to get back to you and answer all those as well. And please don't forget to go over and join our YouTube channel. And we'll see you guys next time.